500 plus...
Children born with normal intelligence readily understand facts and is.
Plus 30 plus 2 plus 2.
They can grasp abstract concepts and interpret signs and symbols.
Around the 60 and the 30, around the 2 and the 2. Equals 500 plus 300.
They learn to perceive relationships between facts and ideas.
60 plus 30 equals 90.
And they are able to solve new problems with old knowledge, using well-developed combinations of motor and intellectual skills. They learn to anticipate danger through signs and sounds of warning, talking to strangers, moving about the streets without apprehension, using public transportation, getting from one place to another without becoming lost. These are all things which normal children learn without formal training. As normal children grow older, they are able to exist independently in complex surroundings. They develop skills which allow them to adapt with ease, sometimes working calmly and quietly without direct supervision, in jobs surrounded by noise and motion. Coordination and judgment are natural attributes which help them adapt to their environment, to perform precision tasks, and to control complex machines. For others, each new learning task is a difficult process. They encounter problems in meeting the demands of the world about them. This is because they are handicapped by mental retardation. Everything they do is affected by an inadequacy in general intellectual functioning. What retarded persons see and hear may be confusing to them, and their behavior sometimes sets them apart from those who are considered to be normal. Every new experience, each new endeavor means a new adjustment. They must be given special consideration by associates and special help from service workers if they are to learn to live and work in a community designed for those with normal intelligence and normal senses. Each level of mental retardation has a different potential for rehabilitation. A potential best determined by specialists knowledgeable in mental retardation. Counselors concerned with the vocational rehabilitation of the retarded will find a background in the nature of mental retardation most helpful as they make judgments about what is and what is not possible for retarded clients. About 3% of our national population is retarded. Most can be helped to hold productive jobs and to behave so they blend almost unnoticed into the human continuum. Relatively few are so handicapped that they have no hope for rehabilitation. The cutoff point between what is considered normal and where mental retardation begins is about 84 IQ points. To the vocational counselor, the adaptive behavior of his client, or how well he is able to adapt to his environment, is more important than his intelligence quotient.
Number 4.
Retarded persons are often handicapped by bizarre motor movements and slovenly eating habits. Others are unable to dress without assistance. It may take half an hour to tie one shoe or to button half a dozen buttons, and merely putting on a coat may be a monumental task. Many have speech which is all but unintelligible until they have had months or years of speech therapy from persons trained to work with the retarded. What causes mental retardation? What malfunction in human development so sets these apart from average persons? There are dozens of known causes which are grouped into 8 general categories. The following scenes include several examples of each category. Many of the examples represent the most severe form of the handicap. Most vocational counselors will not come in contact with such severe cases. They are not pleasant to observe. They are relatively few in number, and their potential for rehabilitation is slight. They are included here only to establish the contrast between the few who are this extensively retarded and those in the majority having the greatest potential for rehabilitation. Retardation may be caused by prenatal or postnatal damage resulting from some inflammation which is caused by an infection within the skull. This category includes encephalopathy due to postnatal infections from virus, bacteria, or other microorganisms. Chickenpox encephalitis, congenital toxoplasmosis. Mental retardation sometimes results where there is brain damage from serums, drugs, or toxic agents which are ingested by the mother before or at the time of birth, or by the child in the postnatal stage. Congenital encephalopathy associated with maternal intoxication. Bilirubin encephalopathy. Bilirubin encephalopathy. Bilirubin encephalopathy. And again, congenital encephalopathy associated with maternal intoxications. Brain injuries caused by trauma or mechanical or physical agents at birth or following birth comprise another category of causes of mental retardation. Encephalopathy due to mechanical injury at birth. Encephalopathy due to anoxemia at birth.
We're up out there now. I got to hold the board. Ah, boy. Now put her in over where we want it, where you want it.
And again, encephalopathy due to anoxemia at birth. Diseases which create disorders in metabolism, growth, or nutrition often cause mental retardation and associated physical impairments. Hypothyroidism. Phenylketonuria. Phenylketonuria is a congenital faulty metabolism of phenylalanine, which is associated with mental defect. Another category in the causes of mental retardation includes those cases resulting from diseases which develop some abnormal growth in the brain of the child. Sturge-Weber-Demetrius disease. This syndrome is characterized by vascular nevi along the course of the superior and middle branches of the trigeminal nerve, glaucoma on the same side, and nevi of the pia, the inner of 3 membranes covering the brain and spinal cord. This category also includes tuberous sclerosis. It is characterized pathologically by tumors on the surfaces of the lateral ventricles of the brain and clinically by progressive mental deterioration, epileptic seizures, sebaceous tumors over the nose in butterfly distribution, and congenital tumor of the eye. Again, an example of Sturge-Weber-Dimitri's disease.
What? Right.
Some children are born retarded without apparent cause. Those cases for which no definite cause can be established, but for which it can be established that the condition existed at birth, are placed in this group. Congenital cerebral defect associated with primary cranial anomaly. Mongolism is the most common of the so-called clinical types of mental retardation. It is also referred to as Down's syndrome. It is a disturbance of growth which begins at an early embryonic age and affects almost every system and organ in the body. Another category contains those cases which involve postnatal disease of a hereditary nature. Encephalopathy due to unknown or uncertain causes. And conditions where the etiology is unknown or uncertain. Cases of mental retardation which do not have accompanying physical defects are in the last category of causes. Retardation in this category is often caused by poverty. Only the functional reaction can be observed. There are few, if any, outward manifestations at a distance. Motor skills are generally good, and physical impairments are not as prevalent as in the previous 7 categories. Nonetheless, if such children grow to maturity without counseling and vocational rehabilitation, they are, as a rule, unable to maintain themselves independently in the community. They will often not be capable of meeting the basic performance standards for competitive employment. More important than the cause of mental retardation or the intelligence quotient of the client is the client's adaptive behavior level. The 8 categories of causes of mental retardation may contain any of the 5 adaptive behavior levels. In other words, there is no direct correlation between the causes of mental retardation and the possible adaptive behavior level. This is true even though the handicaps imposed by some of the causes may make rehabilitation nearly impossible. There are 5 levels of adaptive behavior. The levels are in descending order according to their potential for rehabilitation. Most retardates are in the first 3 categories, those with the greatest rehabilitation potential. One example of each adaptive behavior level is seen in this group.
Okay, what kind of work do you like to do?
Mechanic.
Borderline cases, level 1, are relatively common. Borderline retardates make up the bulk of the caseload for most counselors.
Well, you can try to charge it up or get you a new battery.
Those in the next adaptive behavior level, level 2, are more limited. Level 2 retardates are generally referred to as mildly retarded. These persons make up the next largest group, serviced by vocational counselors. The severely retarded, those classed in adaptive behavior level 4, are capable of only limited productive work and must have constant supervision. Those in adaptive behavior level 5 are profoundly retarded. They require constant custodial care and attention. This Mongoloid boy is moderately retarded. He is in adaptive behavior level 3.
How you doing?
Most persons in this level are unable to acquire academic skills, but they can contribute to their own support in unskilled or semi-skilled jobs. And they can live semi-independent lives in specially supervised homes.
Let me see.
Those in adaptive behavior levels 4 and 5 are so severely handicapped that vocational training is very limited, if not impossible. Many have physical impairments which are too gross to overcome. This is why the counselor needs specialized help in determining the potential of a retarded client. It should be noted that a low intelligence score alone does not necessarily cause a person to be considered retarded. But a low intelligence score coupled with some impairment which causes difficulty in adapting to social or working conditions does place such a person in the retarded class. The average counselor will rarely, if ever, have the occasion to be concerned with retardates in adaptive behavior levels 4 and 5, not only because their potential for rehabilitation is limited, but also because they comprise such a small percentage of the total retarded population. Most vocational counseling is done with those in adaptive behavior levels 1, 2, and 3. Thus, the counselor's knowledge of adaptive behavior will concentrate on the capabilities of clients in the first 3 levels.
What's the matter, Jerry?
Clients in adaptive behavior level 3, the moderately retarded, are capable of productive work under sheltered and non-competitive conditions. They can do simple assembly or disassembly work under close and continuous supervision. The work they do must not require highly developed motor skills or complex communication talents. They must be given extensive specialized education and placed in working conditions where they receive constant attention and encouragement. Retardates in adaptive behavior level 2, the mildly retarded, can learn to perform unskilled jobs under close supervision. With special care and with training to modify their behavior and to give them vocational skills, the majority of those at level 2 will learn to make their own way in the community environment. They can hold self-supporting jobs under only occasional guidance from a vocational counselor. But they must always have access to this guidance. They often need direct assistance and counseling even when facing only mild stress on the job or in their personal lives. Most borderline retardates, those in level 1, can handle useful and productive work in positions which require only simple interactions with normal persons. Many become elevator operators, janitors, and filling station attendants. But most never advance to positions which require a rapid give-and-take interaction, complex computation skills, or extremely careful attention to personal appearance. Counselors with an understanding of the nature of mental retardation are better equipped to make their own efforts effective and to make the counseling and rehabilitation process more meaningful to their clients. A familiarity with the causes of mental retardation helps in understanding some of the effects. And a knowledge of the different adaptive behavior levels is essential in deciding what a retarded client is capable of learning and doing. To reiterate, most counselors will work with only 3 adaptive behavior levels. Level 1, borderline cases, need help only during times of unusual or severe stress. They can do most semi-skilled and some skilled work. Those in level 2 are more handicapped. They need extensive training and must have access to counseling on a continuing basis. They must always be aware that someone is available to help them, and they must know exactly how to get that help when the need arises. Level 3 workers are not capable of independent lives or competitive jobs. They can be trained to work under sheltered conditions, living either in an institution or in a home environment which meets their special needs. Despite this, they are quite capable of performing useful and satisfying work. At times, they perform even better at repetitious tasks than normal persons. Equipped with an understanding of the nature of mental retardation and a realization of the aims of counseling, the counselor is ready to begin the evaluation of the retarded client. This next step in vocational counseling is the process of measuring and defining the potentials of the client. This will lead to a rehabilitation program which will train him to work with dignity in a productive job and to live as independently as possible. This film was based on special problems in vocational rehabilitation of the mentally retarded. United States Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, Vocational Rehabilitation Administration, Rehabilitation Service Series number 65-16.